At this point now, we can go ahead and start trying to resurface this. While having the annotation tool turned on, we can go to here and turn the visibility off. Then we go to our selection tool and we will focus on the right side first. I want to make sure that my 3D cursor is at the center. Shift S, cursor to world origin. Shift A, add a plane. This plane is really big. So with S, we scale this plane down till there. Okay. Let's go to a side view and then Alt B, and we draw a selection over this area and rotate. And there we can see how this looks round, but these sides are a little bit flat. So it's not an ellipse or a circle. That's kind of like an indicator of what type of layout for the mesh I need to model this. Okay. So I go into edit mode with my geometry. I move this a little bit to here, so it's more on the straight part. And then Control R. Click and escape so it doesn't move. And I move this one up. So I have a triangular shape. Then I will select this edge, X, and delete. Because this is a symmetrical object, I rather work on 50% and have the rest updated automatically. Then this one I can move up a little bit. Control R, click there. I don't know where it should be. And then along Y and Z, I can try to bring this up. So what I'm trying to shoot for is having even long edges here. So not something that looks like this, where it's short and long. Okay, very good. Then the next step is also important. I hide this for the moment. Click these outer edges, not the one in the center. That's also why I use edge select, not point select. You see, the moment I select the other point here, this edge is selected too. And we want to crease these with 1. Because now when we give this a subdivision surface modifier of 3, and also turn this on to project, there we can see kind of like the shape. It's actually pretty cool. Then let's show the scan. Let's go back to shaded view. So here, this can go up a little bit. And then we need to figure out up a little bit to the outside, a little bit lower, this a little bit lower. Maybe directly from the X view. Yeah, actually, this is not too bad. You see here we have a little bit of deviation at the start. This is actually nice and flat. And then here, we're not fully hitting it. So maybe a little bit further up and then a little bit in. Let's see. Let's go to point select and X-ray. Then AA, select nothing. B, select these 2 points. It's easier than to select through the mesh. So now here I can move this up and down, and there we see, yeah, that's pretty good. Here now this gets a little bit off. What I'm trying to point out is now you will need to find where is really the sweet spot. Not there, not down there. It's somewhere there in between. We also don't have to 100% rebuild this. This exercise is more a training so you understand how this type of surfacing for subd modeling actually works. One more check. Now my triangles, or my edges still look kind of okay. Very good. So let's say that this actually looks good. the region we can turn off. With holding the Alt key, I can click on this edge and drag this a little bit further to there. Now we need to figure out how do we do the cap. So I can select maybe this point. I go to a top view, E and E to extrude. Let's go to wireframe mode so it's easier to see where we are. There we are. Okay. And then from here, one up, and then select these two, F, and we fill it. Okay. That means an U, and here's this point. We can select and press F, and we filled it. Let's hide this one, because right now everything might otherwise be a little bit confusing to look at. So you see here how from here we extruded via E the line out, and then from here one time up, and then we connected this, and then these two we connected. We'll just do this one more time completely without everything else. So I'll go to the top view, E and E. Then from the side, now this has to go up, E. And then we simply select these two and press F. And then here, these two we can select and press F. This is a triangle, that's not good. And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's not good. I want there to be 4, 4, and 4, which means this edge needs to have a subdivision. So we select the edge, right click, subdivide. Look at this, there's a point, U, 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 F, there's a quad face. U, 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 F, there's a quad face. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's a quad face. Perfect, that's what we want, 4-sided faces. But from the top, that looks not good. As you can see, this is open. So how do we fix this? The 3D cursor will come in very handy here again. Shift S cursor to world origin. Then transform pivot to 3D cursor, AA. B, select these 2 points. And then we say S along Y-axis to 0, enter. There we are. Let's do this one more time. S, Y, 0, enter. Very good. U, 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 we do not need to be creased anymore. Instead, however, U2 can be creased. There. Okay, let's turn this on and look at that. There we have a nice dome. Object mode, shade smooth, go back to edit mode. Yeah. So modeling a dome, it's super easy with Sub-D modeling. And to do this technically really well in programs like Alias, this is one of the hardest shapes really to do. Possible, but very labor intensive. So let's turn on our mesh analysis tool. We go to sharp, -5 and 5. And let's slide and see, maybe 8. Yeah, okay, so these values are good. Then we can see a little bit what is going on in terms of the deformations. We can actually turn this into our tool for the quick view. So quick add to favorite. When I now press Q, I can always turn this on and off. Pretty cool, no? Okay, we need to take a look at our scan object. And before we do this, let's also go to our annotate and we turn this back on. And there we can see, and this is where we want to be, and this is actually where we are. And from here, the surface starts dipping down, but we identified that this whole area here should be straight. So There we can see how we're off a lot. But let me go back one more time. And there you see here we have this one edge. This is kind of like what we did in the modeling here. Okay, so let's go back to top view, and we will do step by step align everything. This again is a very good situation to turn on the X-ray so we can see the overlay nicely. And we will work first here on the right side. We want to straighten this. To straighten this, we need to have another loop inside. So Control R, click, and then we bring this over. We don't know how far we have to bring this over, not too far. If we do it too far, you see then the surface starts to pinch. So maybe there for the moment. Also, 1 second. Ah, interesting. This only works when this is off. Okay. So here I have this loop cut selected. Pay attention to now even there you can see how the surface starts to pinch even before it really pinches. So this analytical view is actually really good to help you see actually where surfaces will be flowing not ideally. Okay, enough of that. So all this is good. Let's clean everything up better. We go to bounding box, AA, B, select this, and we stretch this to there. AA, B, select this. We have to work on the upper part. Stretch this to there. And that kind of like doesn't look too bad. Here it follows it good. Let's go to a side view. Okay, so what's going on here? So this point here I have, maybe I push up a little bit. So you see how it's horizontal and then it turns into a ring. Horizontal, then it turns into a ring. That's also horizontal, then it arcs. So here this has to go over a little bit too. Okay. And this is pretty straight, and then here it arcs, as you can see, which means both points selected. This might have to go lower like this. A, select this. Bring this over, maybe a little bit. Select P this, move this to there. Okay. Maybe more to there. More to there. You will notice that actually it's going to be difficult to capture this flow really nicely. So this is linear, and then we get this arc. Here we always end up with this being a little bit straighter. That's just also the limit of this modeling technique. This whole thing, maybe we can bring over a little bit closer. AA, select then these points. Bring this over. Because we might have to push everything a little bit closer. I select all these points, go to here, as X and 0 to straighten them a little bit more. There. Okay. Good. AA, select this, and now there I can see I can reposition this a little bit. So there it arcs, select this point, bring it back a little bit. Okay. Yeah, what you notice now actually with having this moved a little bit, it starts to look closer. In wireframe mode, we can also see now how this sticks out a little bit too much. Check lower. This is good. Okay, maybe select this point and then push this out a little bit. There. Yeah. Alt B, we can do a cut section view and see how close are we to the surface. We're actually pretty close. You can see there's a tiny gap. Okay. Yeah. That's not too bad. Let's hide this, go to object mode, and look at it. It's quite respectable. Yeah, okay. This matte cap will be very useful for, I go to here, and then when I rotate, you see how the highlight stretches and compresses. This is actually a tool to check if how the surface bends. When the highlight doesn't change the shape a lot, that means that the bending is pretty much very consistent. At the bottom here it stretches, that's normal because it gets flatter. But here it should be more uniform. And when I do this here, so this is normal, it stretches and gets this way. So there you can see how it stretches vertically and then it gets wider. And then it gets vertical stretch. This is actually not good, but it's also it's a limit because of this modeling technique. Probably when we start touching it, we might not really even notice the difference. So one interesting element here to show too. Shift A, make just a UV sphere. Right click and shade smooth, and then rotate your view. And there you can see how the highlight doesn't really change much because this is a perfect sphere. S and Z, we squeeze it. And there you can see how where it's more elliptical, it gets smaller, and then where it's flat, it gets wider. I hope that this demo pretty much demonstrates to you or explains how to use this type of a material. It's not like that something looks cool. It's really the highlight is what I'm really paying attention to. Yeah, this one doesn't really work well in this case. But actually with this one turned on, let's take a look what we have here from the front. That's interesting how this goes down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. We have a green one here. That's for example a little bit softer with the highlight. But it doesn't really bounce that much. It wobbles a little bit, so it's okay. Again, as I said, the shape looks very simple. In a program like Alias, this is an extremely difficult surface to do really well and clean. Here it's actually modeled very fast, and that's the whole point. Exploring an idea quickly versus being technically accurate and spending a lot of time modeling it. Okay, so this is kind of like the starting point. Elements maybe I could do to improve. When I want this to round even more, I would need Control R, add another loop cut. But when I do this, you can see how everything topology-wise changes. So I could do this, but then I would need to adjust everything and stretch. Question is, do I need to do this? In our case, we leave it at this point with the surface coming down this way a little bit. So for our task, this is sufficient.